The rain fell in thin silver lines the night Lily collapsed. Ethan's mansion glowed behind her like a palace made of glass and silence, while the ambulance lights painted her pale face red and blue. One of her shoes lay abandoned near the marble steps. Her hand rested over her swollen belly, unmoving. Inside the house, a chandelier still swayed slightly, as if even it remembered the violence that had just happened. Neighbors watched from behind curtains. No one spoke. Somewhere in the distance, a siren cried. Long, broken, and late. Before we go any further, I want to know something. Where are you watching from right now? A city, a town, maybe a quiet place with a name only you love. Drop it in the comments. It still amazes me how one story can travel so far and bring strangers together. Lily Harper had once believed love could soften even the hardest man. She met Ethan Cole when she was 24, working late nights as a junior architect, living off instant noodles and hope. Ethan was already a millionaire then. Sharp suits, quiet power, the kind of man people listened to even when he whispered. He noticed her because she didn't notice him. She spoke to him like a human, not a trophy. Their early days felt like a dream edited to remove all the ugly parts. Rooftop dinners. Long drives with no destination. Ethan would rest his forehead against hers and say, "With you, I can breathe." Lily believed him. She wanted to, but wealth has shadows, and Ethan's grew longer with time. Control came first, disguised as care. Why wear that? People will stare. I'll handle the money. It's easier. Don't work so late. I worry. By the time Lily realized worry had turned into ownership, she was already married. Already alone in rooms too big for one heart. The pregnancy changed everything and nothing. Ethan smiled when the doctor said, "You're going to be a father." But the smile never reached his eyes. At home, his patience thinned. His temper sharpened. The house became quieter, not peaceful, watchful. Lily learned how to move without sound, how to speak without asking. That night, it started with a small thing. Dinner was late. Ethan's tie was still on. His phone buzzed again, and again on the counter. Lily apologized, softly, and reached for his hand. "I'm trying," she said. "I'm just tired." Something in Ethan snapped. Not loudly, not suddenly. It was like a door closing forever. The argument blurred into motion, shouting, glass shattering, Lily stumbling backward. She fell hard. Her head struck the edge of the table. The world went dark before she could scream for her baby. When Lily woke again, days had passed. Machines breathed for her. Tubes replaced words. The ceiling above her hospital bed was white and endless. Doctors spoke in careful tones outside the room. "She's in a coma. The baby survived for now. We don't know when or if she'll wake." Ethan stood by the bed once. Only once. He didn't touch her hand. He didn't stay. But Lily was not alone, even if she couldn't see it. 200 miles away, in a small working-class town, two brothers stood in a garage that smelled of oil and rain. Michael and Daniel Harper stared at Lily's name glowing on a hospital caller ID. They hadn't spoken to their sister in months, not because they didn't love her, but because Ethan never liked them around. When the doctor explained what had happened, Michael dropped his phone. Daniel punched the wall so hard the tools rattled. Their little sister, the girl who patched their wounds when they were kids, the one who laughed too loud and forgave too fast, lying silent in a hospital bed because someone who claimed to love her lost control. Michael's voice shook. "We're going to see her." Daniel nodded, eyes dark. And him. They didn't say the word revenge. They didn't need to. By morning, they were on the road. Not as angry boys, but as men carrying years of quiet loyalty. They didn't know yet what they would do. They only knew one thing with terrifying clarity. Ethan Cole's money had built him walls. But walls don't protect you from what love sends back for blood. The hospital doors slid open as the brothers stepped inside. The hospital doors slid open with a soft mechanical sigh as Michael and Daniel stepped inside. The smell hit them first. Antiseptic, metal, quiet fear. Everything felt too clean for something so wrong. Michael walked faster, jaw tight, hands opening and closing like he was holding something invisible. Daniel followed, shoulders stiff, eyes scanning every corner as if Ethan might be hiding behind a vending machine. They found Lily in the ICU. She looked smaller than Michael remembered. Fragile. Her dark hair was brushed back, her face pale beneath the humming lights. A machine breathed for her, steady and cold. Another monitor traced the heartbeat of the baby, a thin green line that rose and fell like a promise refusing to die. Michael's knees nearly buckled. He reached for her hand, warm but unresponsive. "Hey, Lil," he whispered, voice breaking despite his effort. "It's Mike. I'm here. We're both here." Daniel stood at the foot of the bed, fists clenched, staring at the bruises that hadn't fully faded. His chest burned. He had always sworn he'd protect her. Somehow, he hadn't been there when she needed it most. A nurse quietly explained the injuries. The head trauma, the fall, the uncertainty. "We're doing everything we can," she said gently. "Talking to her helps, even if she can't respond." Michael nodded, swallowing hard. He leaned close to Lily's ear and began to talk about home, about the creek they used to swim in, about how she used to steal the front seat and laugh when Daniel complained. His voice shook, but he didn't stop. If you were standing in that room, watching someone you love fight silently for life, what would you do? Would you stay calm? Or would your heart shatter too? Be honest, share your answer below. And if words don't come, tap like to show that compassion still lives. Hours passed. Ethan never came. When he finally did, it was late. The room tensed the moment he walked in. His suit was perfect, his expression unreadable. He stopped when he saw the brothers. "This is a family matter," Ethan said coolly. Michael turned slowly. "She's our family." Ethan's eyes flicked to Lily briefly, then away. "I'm handling it." Daniel stepped forward, voice low. "You already handled enough." Security arrived before anything else could be said. The brothers were asked to leave. Ethan didn't argue. He didn't look back. Outside, under flickering streetlights, Daniel finally spoke the words burning in his chest. "He did this." Michael nodded. "And he thinks money will erase it." They didn't sleep that night. The next morning, they began to learn who Ethan Cole really was. Not the magazine covers, not the charity dinners, the cracks beneath. Michael contacted an old friend, Ava, a freelance journalist with sharp instincts and a stronger moral compass. When she heard Lily's name, she went quiet. "I've heard whispers," she said. "Nothing solid, but where there's smoke." Daniel started digging through legal records. Civil suits quietly settled. Former employees bound by ironclad NDAs. A past girlfriend who disappeared from social media overnight. Every discovery added weight to their chests. Meanwhile, in the hospital, something small but powerful happened. A janitor named Grace, an older woman with tired eyes and gentle hands, began stopping by Lily's room during her rounds. She wiped the windowsill, straightened the blanket. Sometimes she spoke softly, like Lily could hear. "You rest, sweetheart," Grace murmured one night. "Your baby needs your strength." Michael noticed. He thanked her. Grace smiled. "Someone once stayed with me when I couldn't wake up," she said. "I don't forget kindness." That moment stayed with Michael longer than the anger did. Have you ever been helped by someone when you least expected it? If yes, write yes and share their name below. Sometimes gratitude deserves to be spoken out loud. Days passed. Lily didn't wake. Ethan's lawyers moved faster than hope. A statement was prepared. An accident. Stress. A tragic fall. His wealth smoothed every edge. The police closed the case quietly. But the brothers didn't stop. Ava uncovered hospital records from years ago, sealed but not erased. Another woman. Similar injuries. No charges filed. Paid silence. Daniel stared at the screen, hands shaking. "This isn't about us anymore." Michael nodded slowly. "It's about stopping him." That night, Michael returned to Lily's room alone. The lights were dim. The machines hummed. He held her hand again. "We're fighting," he whispered. "Not with fists. With truth. You just hold on, okay? As if in answer, the baby's heartbeat fluttered, then steadied. Outside the hospital, Ethan Cole stood in his car, watching the building from behind tinted glass. His phone buzzed with messages from lawyers, investors, friends who believed his version. He exhaled, convinced the storm had passed. He didn't know the first drop of rain had already fallen, and soon it would pour. The rain finally came 2 nights later, washing the city in a steady gray blur. Michael stood under the hospital awning, phone pressed to his ear, listening to Ava speak in a low, urgent voice. "I found her," Ava said. "The woman from the old case. Her name is Rachel Moore. She didn't disappear, she was paid to vanish." Michael closed his eyes. "Will she talk?" A pause. "Then, she's scared. But she's also tired of running." Inside the hospital, Daniel sat beside Lily, reading softly from a book she used to love. His voice wasn't strong, but it was steady. He read about mountains and long roads, about people who survived storms they never asked for. "She always liked the hopeful parts," he murmured, brushing a tear away quickly. "So, I'll keep reading those." The doctors warned them not to expect miracles. Comas didn't follow schedules. Healing didn't obey need. Still, every morning, Michael asked the same question. Any change? And every morning, the answer was the same gentle shake of the head. Yet kindness kept finding its way into the cracks. Grace brought Lily a small knitted blanket one afternoon, pale yellow, soft as sunlight. "For the baby," she said. "I made it during breaks." Michael thanked her, voice thick. He watched as she tucked it carefully near Lily's stomach, as if wrapping both mother and child in something stronger than medicine. "Now it's your turn, pause for a second. Share one small good thing you did recently, no matter how simple. Write it below so others remember that kindness still lives." Your story might quietly light someone's path tonight. Across town, Ethan Cole was losing patience. The investors were calling. The rumors were spreading, faint but dangerous. He paced his office, city lights stretching below like a kingdom he believed he owned. "Handle it," he snapped into his phone. "I don't care what it costs." Money had always fixed things before. Ava met Rachel Moore in a quiet cafe near the river. Rachel looked older than her years, hands trembling as she stirred untouched coffee. "He said it was my fault," Rachel whispered. "That I pushed him. That if I talked, no one would believe me." Ava leaned forward. "They will now." Rachel's eyes filled. "I just wanted to stop." When Michael and Daniel heard Rachel's recorded statement, silence filled the room. Not shock, recognition. The pattern was undeniable. The rage, the apologies, the payouts. Daniel exhaled slowly. "This ends." They took everything to the authorities again. This time, they didn't walk in alone. Ava's presence meant questions would be asked publicly, loudly. Ethan's lawyers pushed back hard. Motions. Delays. Threats disguised as warnings. "You're making a powerful enemy," one message read. Michael deleted it. Then, a change. It was subtle, almost missed. Lily's finger twitched. The nurse caught it first. Then Michael saw it, a tiny movement, barely there, but real. Doctors rushed in. Tests were run. The machines hummed louder, faster. "She's responding," a doctor said carefully. "It's early, but it's something." Daniel pressed his forehead to the wall and let himself breathe for the first time in weeks. Word spread fast. Ethan heard the news from a third party. His jaw tightened. He drove to the hospital without calling ahead, confidence masking something closer to fear. When he entered Lily's room, Michael was already there. "You shouldn't be here," Michael said calmly. Ethan's eyes flicked to Lily, then to the blanket, the flowers, the evidence of people who stayed. "I'm her husband." Michael stepped closer. "Then act like one." For a moment, Ethan looked like he might explode. Instead, he smoothed his jacket. "This is being handled legally," he said. "Don't interfere." Michael met his gaze. "Truth isn't interference." Ethan left without another word. That night, Lily's eyes fluttered beneath closed lids. Her breathing shifted. The machines adjusted. A whisper escaped her lips. Not a word, Just a sound, fragile and alive. Michael leaned close, tears blurring his vision. "We're here," he whispered. "You're not alone." Outside, the city kept moving, unaware that a man who thought himself untouchable was standing at the edge of something he couldn't buy his way out of. And deep inside that hospital room, hope, quiet, stubborn hope, refused to leave. The courtroom felt colder than the hospital ever had. Wooden benches, pale walls, a flag hanging without emotion. Michael sat beside Daniel, both wearing the same quiet determination they'd carried for weeks. Ava sat one row ahead, notebook closed for once. Today, she was only watching. Ethan Cole entered last. His presence shifted the air. Tailored suit, calm stride, the kind of confidence built from years of winning without consequence. He didn't look at the brothers. He didn't look at Lily's empty seat. He smiled at his lawyer and sat down as if this were another board meeting. Then Rachel Moore was called to testify. She walked slowly to the stand, hands clasped together like she might lose them if she let go. Her voice trembled at first, not from weakness, but from the weight of being unheard for so long. "He said I fell," she told the court. "He said I was emotional, that no one would believe me over him." Michael watched Ethan's face. The smile never moved, but his eyes hardened. Rachel described the control, the apologies, the money, the silence that followed. Each word peeled away another layer of Ethan's carefully built image. Then Ava stood. She presented timelines, medical records, settlement documents, patterns that could no longer be ignored. This wasn't one mistake. It was a history. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. If that truth just landed heavy on your heart, leave a red heart in the comments. Some moments hurt because they finally tell the truth we were never allowed to hear. Across town, Lily lay awake for the first time in weeks. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused, as if the world was too bright to look at directly. Grace was the one who noticed first. She dropped her cleaning cloth and pressed the call button with shaking fingers. Doctors rushed in. Michael and Daniel were called from the courthouse hallway. When Michael reached Lily's bedside, she turned her head slightly. Her lips parted. "Mike," she whispered. He laughed and cried at the same time.
"Yeah, Lil.
"I'm here." The baby's heartbeat was strong,
Steady. Alive."
but waking didn't erase the past. Lily remembered fragments, flashes of sound, fear, Ethan's voice rising like a storm. When she spoke to the doctors, when she spoke to the police again, her words came haltingly, but they came. "He pushed me," she said softly. "I fell, and then everything went dark." That was enough. Ethan was arrested that evening. Cameras followed him as he was led out of his office building in handcuffs. The same steps he'd walked for years with pride now echoed with disbelief. Investors turned away. Friends disappeared. The kingdom built on silence finally collapsed under sound. But victory didn't feel loud. Lily struggled through physical therapy, her body slower than her mind. Nightmares came often. She woke reaching for air, for her stomach, for reassurance that her child was still there. Daniel sat with her through many of those nights, saying little. Michael held her hand until the shaking passed. One afternoon, Lily asked a question no one was ready for. "What happens to him?" Michael answered honestly. "He faces what he did." She nodded, eyes distant. "I don't want revenge," she said quietly. "I want peace." The trial lasted weeks. Ethan's lawyers argued. They minimized. They blamed stress. But the pattern was too clear now. Too many voices. Too much evidence. Too much truth. When the verdict was read, guilty, there was no cheer. No celebration. Only a long exhale that felt like grief finally loosening its grip. Ethan looked back once as he was taken away. Lily wasn't there. She was at home, sitting in a sunlit room that smelled like fresh paint and clean sheets, one hand resting protectively over her belly. Grace had brought the yellow blanket. Ava had sent flowers. The brothers had fixed every loose hinge and broken lock. Safety had a sound quiet. Months later, Lily gave birth to a baby girl. They named her Hope. the hospital room filled with soft cries and laughter. Michael held his niece with hands that once shook from anger, now steady with love. Daniel stood beside Lily, tears falling freely. Grace peeked in from the doorway, smiling like she already knew this ending. Lily looked down at her daughter and whispered, "You came from pain, but you will grow in light." Outside, the world kept moving, imperfect, unfair, fragile. But inside that room, something stronger than revenge had won. And it was enough. Life didn't return to normal after the verdict. It reshaped itself. The house Lily moved into wasn't large, but it breathed. Morning light spilled through the kitchen window. The floors creaked softly instead of echoing. When Hope cried at night, Lily could reach her in 3 steps, not 3 hallways. Safety no longer felt like a luxury, it felt earned. Still, healing was not a straight line. Some days, Lily smiled easily, rocking Hope while humming melodies she barely remembered learning. Other days, a raised voice on the street or the slam of a car door would freeze her in place, heart racing as if the past had found her again. Michael noticed everything. He watched how Lily's shoulders tensed when she signed legal papers, how she flinched when unfamiliar numbers appeared on her phone, how she sometimes stared too long at nothing at all. "You don't have to be strong all the time," he told her one evening as they sat on the porch, cicadas humming in the dusk. Lily nodded, eyes glossy. "I know. I just don't want my fear to touch her." She looked down at Hope. She deserves better. Daniel returned to work, but he visited every weekend. He fixed shelves, painted walls, held Hope until she fell asleep against his chest. His anger had cooled into something quieter, a promise he carried without speaking. Ava's article came out a month later. It wasn't sensational. It didn't glorify pain. It told the truth, carefully, respectfully. It named patterns. It named silence. And for the first time, it named Lily not as a victim, but as a survivor. Messages poured in. Women who had never spoken before. Men who admitted they'd looked away. Families who recognized pieces of their own stories between the lines. Lily read some of them late at night, when the house was still. She cried often, not because of the pain, but because she finally understood how many people had been standing alone the way she once did. Then came the letter. It arrived without warning. Plain envelope. Official seal. Ethan Cole had written to her from prison. Michael found Lily holding it at the kitchen table unopened, fingers trembling. "You don't have to read it," he said immediately. "I know," she whispered, "but I think I need to." She waited until Hope was asleep. The letter was long, careful, written in neat, controlled handwriting. Ethan didn't deny what he'd done. He didn't excuse it either. He wrote about anger he never learned to face, about control he mistook for strength, about realizing too late that fear was the only language he knew. At the end, he wrote, "I don't ask for forgiveness. I only ask that you live freely, even if that freedom excludes me forever." Lily folded the letter slowly. Her chest felt tight, but not with rage. With clarity.
She didn't reply. She didn't need to.
A week later, Lily began therapy, not because anyone told her to, but because she chose herself. She spoke about the good memories and the bad ones, about love that turned into a cage, about the night that almost ended everything. She spoke about hope. "I want her to grow up knowing love doesn't hurt," Lily said softly. The therapist nodded. "And do you believe that?" Lily paused. Then, "I'm learning to." One afternoon, while walking through the park with hope tucked against her chest, Lily saw a man shouting into his phone. Her breath caught. Her steps slowed. Her heart began to pound. Then hope shifted, tiny fingers gripping Lily's shirt. Lily inhaled, exhaled. The man walked past. The moment passed. That night, Lily stood by Hope's crib, watching her sleep. Michael leaned against the doorway. "Do you ever think about him?" he asked gently. Lily didn't answer right away. "I think about who I was before him," she said finally. "And who I am now." She turned, eyes steady. "I survived. That matters more than what he becomes." Michael nodded, respect deepening in his gaze. Before the final court paperwork was signed, Lily was asked one last question, one she didn't expect to feel so heavy. Would she be willing to offer a statement about forgiveness? Not for Ethan's sake, but as part of a rehabilitation program he had joined. Lily sat with the question for days. Forgiveness wasn't forgetting. It wasn't excusing. It wasn't reopening wounds. It was choosing what carried power. Be honest with yourself for a moment. Could you forgive after something like this? Type forgive if you think you could, or never if the pain would be too deep. There's no wrong answer, only truth. In the end, Lily wrote a short statement. Not to Ethan. To herself. I forgive what no longer controls me. She signed it, closed the folder, walked outside into the sun. Hope stirred in her arms. And for the first time, Lily felt something she hadn't felt in a long while. Not relief, not closure, but peace, quiet, steady, and finally her own. Time softened the sharpest edges, but it never erased them. Hope learned to sit up, then crawl, then wobble forward on uncertain feet. Each milestone felt like a small victory over a past that had tried to steal her future before it began. Lily celebrated quietly, a smile, a whispered prayer, a hand over her heart. The nightmares still came, just less often. Some nights, Lily woke gasping, the echo of raised voices ringing in her ears. Other nights, she slept through until dawn, waking to Hope's soft breathing and the pale gold light creeping through the curtains. Those mornings felt like borrowed miracles. Michael moved into a small apartment nearby. Not too close, Lily needed space to feel independent, but close enough that help was never far. Daniel visited less often now, work pulling him away, but when he came fully. He laughed louder, held Hope longer, stayed until the house felt warmer. One afternoon, Lily received an unexpected invitation. A local community center was hosting a small support gathering, survivors, counselors, volunteers. Someone had read Ava's article. Someone thought Lily's voice might matter. She stared at the email for a long time. Standing in front of strangers, telling her story, felt terrifying, but hiding from it felt heavier.
She said yes.
The room was simple. Folding chairs. A circle, not a stage. No cameras. No pressure. When Lily spoke, her voice shook at first. She talked about love turning into fear. About silence being mistaken for peace. About waking up in a hospital bed and realizing survival was only the beginning. Then she talked about hope. I didn't survive just to breathe, Lily said softly. I survived to live and to show my daughter what strength really looks like. The room was quiet, not awkward, reverent. Afterward, a young woman approached her, tears streaking her face. I thought I was weak for staying, she whispered. But hearing you, I think I'm just scared. Lily took her hand. So was I, she said gently. Fear doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. That night, Lily cried, not from pain, but from purpose. Something shifted inside her. Ethan remained in prison, quieter now in the public eye. The world had moved on, as it always did. Lily didn't follow the news about him anymore. His story no longer shaped hers. One evening, while rocking Hope to sleep, Lily caught her reflection in the dark window. She looked different. Not happier, deeper. Like someone who had walked through fire and learned how to carry warmth instead of ashes. Michael watched from the doorway. You're changing lives, he said softly. Lily smiled faintly. I'm just telling the truth. Weeks later, the community center asked her to return, not as a speaker, but as a volunteer. Lily hesitated, then accepted. She organized childcare during meetings. She made tea. She listened. Listening, she learned, was its own kind of healing. One rainy afternoon, as Lily packed up toys after a session, Grace walked in. The same Grace. Same gentle eyes. I transferred here, Grace said with a small smile. Thought I'd keep doing what I do best. Lily laughed, surprised and grateful all at once. I don't think I ever properly thanked you. Grace shook her head. You did. You lived. Outside, the rain slowed to a mist. Lily pushed Hope's stroller down the sidewalk, the world damp and quiet. She passed families, couples, strangers lost in their own lives. Pain and joy moving side by side, unseen. Hope babbled, reaching for falling leaves. Lily stopped, crouched beside her, and laughed, a real laugh, unguarded. If you believe love still wins, comment amen. Let's fill this space with hope. Someone scrolling right now might need to see that light still survives. That night, Lily sat alone on the porch, wrapped in a sweater, the yellow blanket folded neatly beside her. The stars were faint, but present. She thought about everything she had lost, then about everything that remained. She realized something then. Healing wasn't about becoming who she was before. It was about becoming someone new, shaped by truth, not fear. Hope stirred inside the house. Lily stood, ready to keep going, ready to love without shrinking, ready to teach her daughter that pain can end, but kindness doesn't have to. And as she stepped back inside, closing the door softly behind her, the night felt less heavy, like it was finally letting her pass. The first anniversary of Lily's awakening arrived quietly. No announcements, no headlines, just a date circled lightly on the calendar, almost forgotten until Michael noticed it that morning while pouring coffee. "She's one," he said softly. Lily looked up from Hope's high chair. The baby had mashed banana on her cheek and joy in her eyes. Lily smiled, slow, thoughtful. "So am I," she replied. They didn't mark the day with sadness. They took Hope to the park. The sky was wide and blue, the kind that made the world feel possible again. Children ran barefoot across the grass. A street musician played something gentle on a guitar nearby. Lily sat on a bench while Hope toddled between Michael and Daniel, laughing every time she almost fell. Almost, but never quite. Daniel crouched to catch her, heart in his throat every time. "She's fearless," he said. Lily shook her head. "She trusts." That word lingered. Trust. It was still fragile for Lily, something she handled carefully like glass. But watching her daughter step forward without knowing what came next reminded her of something important. Courage didn't always roar. Sometimes it wobbled. Later that afternoon, Lily received a message from the community center. A woman she had met months earlier wanted to meet her for coffee. Nothing formal, just gratitude. They sat across from each other in a small cafe, steam rising from their cups. "I left," the woman said, voice trembling but proud. "It was hard, but I remembered what you said. That fear doesn't mean weak." Lily swallowed, emotion rising fast. "I'm glad you're safe." The woman smiled. "You helped me see I deserved that." When Lily walked home, the city felt different. Not kinder, but more connected. Invisible threads between strangers who would never know each other's names, yet shared something deeper than coincidence. That night, after Hope fell asleep, Lily opened a small box she kept tucked away. Inside was the yellow blanket. She ran her fingers over the yarn, remembering hospital lights, machines humming, Grace's gentle voice. She remembered the woman she had been, silent, shrinking, and the woman she was becoming. She folded the blanket carefully and placed it in Hope's closet, not as a reminder of pain, but as proof of survival. Michael knocked softly on the doorframe. "You okay?" Lily nodded. "I was just thinking about how close I came to losing everything." Michael stepped closer. "And how far you've come." She met his eyes. "I didn't do it alone." He smiled. "You led the way." Outside, the world carried on. Messy, loud, imperfect. Somewhere, someone was hurting the way she once had. Somewhere else, someone was helping without knowing why. Lily rocked gently in her chair, listening to Hope's steady breathing through the baby monitor. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine the future without fear creeping into the corners. School mornings, scraped knees, late-night talks, teaching her daughter what love should feel like, patient, safe, kind. Not perfect, but real. Before turning off the light, Lily whispered something she'd never said out loud before. "Thank you. Not to fate. Not to pain. To herself for staying." If this story moved you even a little, don't scroll past quietly. Tap like, "Not for me," but for the woman who endured this pain and still chose kindness. One simple click can be your way of saying, "I felt you, and I stand with you." The room fell quiet again. Hope slept peacefully, and Lily, survivor, sister, mother, closed her eyes knowing that tomorrow wouldn't be easy. But it would be hers. Morning arrived gently. Sunlight slipped through the curtains and settled across the floor, warm and unhurried. Lily woke before the alarm, the way she often did now. For a moment, she stayed still, listening, to Hope's soft breaths through the monitor, to the quiet hum of a world that no longer felt like it was closing in. She stood, stretched, and went to her daughter. Hope was awake, staring at the ceiling with wide curiosity, as if each day was something brand new. When Lily lifted her, Hope giggled and pressed her forehead against Lily's chest. That small weight, that small trust, grounded her more than anything else ever had. In the kitchen, Michael was already there, making coffee that smelled stronger than necessary. "Morning," he said. Lily smiled. Morning. There was no rush. No tension hiding beneath polite words. Just family moving through space together, healed enough to breathe. Later that day, Lily walked alone through the neighborhood. She passed houses where arguments might be happening behind closed doors. She passed others filled with laughter she would never hear. Life existed everywhere, layered, complicated, unfinished. At the corner, she paused at a small mural someone had painted on the side of a brick wall. It showed a woman standing in shadow, her silhouette cracked, and from those cracks, light poured out. Lily stood there longer than she meant to. She realized something important then. Pain hadn't ruined her life. Silence had almost done that. But speaking, surviving, choosing kindness over bitterness, those choices rebuilt everything. At the community center that evening, Lily helped set up chairs again. A new group had arrived. New faces. New stories waiting to be told when courage allowed. One woman sat alone, arms folded tightly, eyes fixed on the floor. Lily recognized that posture immediately. She walked over and sat beside her. "You don't have to talk today," Lily said gently. "You're safe just being here." The woman looked up, surprised. Slowly she nodded. Safety. It was a word Lily once thought was fragile. Now she knew better. Safety was something you build. With truth, with boundaries, with love that does not demand silence. That night, after everyone left, Lily turned off the lights and locked the door. Outside, the street was calm. A breeze moved through the trees, carrying the soft sound of leaves brushing together. She walked home under a sky full of quiet stars. Inside, Hope slept curled on her side, one hand tucked beneath her cheek. Lily brushed a finger along her daughter's hair and felt a surge of gratitude, so strong it nearly brought her to her knees. Not gratitude for suffering, but gratitude for survival. For the brothers who came when they were needed most. For a stranger named Grace who chose kindness without expecting thanks. For a child who arrived not as a reminder of pain, but as proof of resilience. And for herself, for finding the strength to keep going when the future felt like a wall. Lily sat beside the crib and whispered words she hoped her daughter would one day understand. "You are born from love," she said softly, "and you will never have to earn safety." She turned off the light and stepped back into the hallway. The house settled around her, not large, not grand, but filled with something far more valuable than wealth.
Peace.
The kind that doesn't erase scars, but teaches you how to live with them without letting them define you. And somewhere, far beyond this quiet home, the world kept spinning, still broken in places, still unfair, still capable of cruelty, but also capable of change. One brave choice at a time. One truth spoken aloud. One life choosing hope and passing it forward. The story didn't end with revenge. It ended with something stronger. A woman who survived. A child who would grow free. And a reminder that even after the darkest night,